Imagine two people earning exactly the same salary. They work at the same company, drive to the same office, get paid on the same Friday. Let's call them Oliver and Ethan. On paper, their financial lives look almost identical. Then one afternoon, both of their cars break down. Same repair shop, same problem, same bill, $1,400. Oliver glances at the estimate, approves a repair, and goes back to answering emails while he waits. Ethan reads the quote 3 times. He opens his banking app, starts moving money between accounts, then wonders which bill he'll have to delay this month. Same income, same repair. Completely different experience. So what changed? Most people would say discipline or luck. Or maybe one of them simply earns more. But none of those answers are true. The real difference is hidden behind a number almost nobody talks about. Net worth. If you've ever felt like you're earning a decent income, but somehow never feel financially comfortable, or you're trying to build real wealth instead of just a bigger paycheck, consider subscribing. On this channel, we explore the psychology behind money and the quiet decisions that shape your financial future. Now back to Oliver. Here's the strange thing. Most of us spend our lives chasing income. We celebrate raises, we compare salaries, we ask people what they make. But income only tells you how much money passes through your hands. It doesn't tell you how much stays. That's what net worth measures. It's everything you own, minus everything you owe. And while income determines how fast money comes in, net worth determines how secure your life actually feels. That's why two people can earn the exact same salary and live in completely different realities. One unexpected expense is just an inconvenience. For the other, it's a financial emergency. The interesting part is that this doesn't change gradually. There are a few specific points where your financial life starts feeling noticeably different. Not because you suddenly become rich, but because certain worries quietly begin to disappear. The first one is closer than most people think, and once Oliver crossed it, he realized money had started working very differently than it ever had before. The first milestone isn't $1 million. It's much smaller than that. $100,000. For some people, that sounds impossible. For others, it might not seem like much at all. But there's a reason experienced investors talk about this number so often. It's the point where your money finally starts helping you. Think back to Oliver before he reached 6 figures. Every dollar in his investment account came from the same place, his paycheck. If he wanted to save more, he had to earn more, or spend less. The progress was slow. Some months it barely felt like anything was happening. It was like pushing a heavy boulder uphill. Every step depended on his effort. Then something quietly changed. Once Oliver reached around $100,000 invested, his portfolio started generating meaningful growth on its own. Assume a long-term average return of around 7%. A $100,000 portfolio could grow by roughly $7,000 over a year on average. That's money Oliver didn't earn by working overtime. He didn't ask for a raise. He didn't pick the perfect investment. His money simply started doing part of the work for him. And that's why so many people say the first $100,000 is the hardest. Not because the next one is guaranteed, but because compounding finally has enough momentum to become noticeable. The strange thing is, the biggest change isn't mathematical. It's psychological. Think back to Oliver and Ethan. The reason Oliver stayed calm during that unexpected repair wasn't because he made more money. It was because he had built a cushion. His investments, his savings, his net worth. Together, they created something invisible. Breathing room. For the first time in years, an unexpected expense didn't immediately become a crisis. And that changes more than your bank account. It changes the way you think. When every surprise feels expensive, part of your mind is always occupied, always calculating, always worrying. But once you have enough of a financial cushion, that background noise starts to disappear. You're no longer making every decision from a place of pressure. You're making it from a place of choice. And that's what the first $100,000 really buys. Not luxury, not early retirement, just something most people underestimate. Peace of mind. But as powerful as that first milestone is, it's only the beginning. Because once your money starts working alongside you, the next level changes something completely different. It doesn't just reduce financial stress, it gives you options. The second milestone feels completely different. It's somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million in net worth. Not because life suddenly becomes luxurious, but because something quietly shifts. At this point, your investments can begin producing an amount of growth that actually changes how you think about work. Imagine Oliver has a portfolio worth $500,000. Using a long-term average return of around 7%, that portfolio could grow by roughly $35,000 in a good year. Not because Oliver worked harder, not because he got promoted, simply because the investments kept doing what they've been doing all along. Now compare that to where he started. Years ago, every dollar came from his paycheck. Today, his portfolio has become another source of income. And that's a strange feeling. For the first time, Oliver realizes his employer isn't the only thing supporting his future. His investments are helping to. That doesn't mean he quits his job. It doesn't even mean he wants to. But something important changes inside his mind. He no longer feels trapped. Imagine your boss asks you to do something completely unreasonable. Years earlier, Oliver would have felt like he had no choice. Now, he knows he does. He may still stay, but he's staying because he wants to. Not because he's financially forced to. That's the real value of this stage. Options. Unexpected expenses become easier to absorb. Replacing a broken appliance no longer feels like a financial crisis. Booking a direct flight instead of the cheapest one isn't something he has to spend weeks debating. Little pieces of financial stress quietly disappear. But this stage comes with its own danger. Lifestyle inflation. As income grows, it's incredibly tempting to let spending grow with it. A nicer house, a luxury car, more expensive vacations. None of those things are wrong on their own. The problem is that every new expense slowly raises the cost of maintaining your lifestyle. And before long, the freedom your investments created starts disappearing again. Oliver almost fell into that trap. Then he realized something. Every raise didn't have to become a bigger lifestyle. It could become a bigger future. That simple decision made all the difference, because the second milestone isn't about proving you're successful. It's about protecting the freedom you've already earned. And once you understand that, the third and final level becomes much easier to reach. Because the last stage isn't really about money anymore. It's about something far more valuable than money could ever be. The final milestone isn't really about becoming richer. It's about becoming freer. For many people, that level begins somewhere around $2.5 million in net worth. Not because it's a magical number, but because that's often the point where your investments can comfortably support your lifestyle without depending entirely on a paycheck. For the first time, work becomes a choice instead of a requirement. Oliver used to believe this was the moment people finally became happy. But the more he learned, the more he realized that isn't always true. Some people reach this level and still feel anxious, still compare themselves to others, still chase the next number. Because money solves financial problems. It doesn't automatically solve personal ones. If someone is constantly chasing status, another $1 million won't change that. If someone never learned to appreciate progress, the goalpost simply moves again. 2.5 million becomes 5. 5 becomes 10. And somehow, enough always stays just out of reach. Oliver realized something that completely changed the way he viewed wealth. Every stage had removed a different fear. The first gave him peace of mind. The second gave him options. The third gave him ownership of his time. And that was the real prize. Not bigger houses, not expensive cars, not proving anything to anyone. The freedom to spend a Tuesday however he wanted, to have breakfast without rushing, to visit family without asking for time off, to say yes because he wanted to, not because his schedule allowed it. That's something no luxury purchase can replace. Looking back, Oliver realized he'd spent years focusing on income, then on net worth. But neither one was ever the real goal. They were simply tools. The real goal had always been building a life with fewer financial worries, more meaningful choices, and enough time to enjoy both. Because in the end, the wealthiest person in the room isn't always the one with the highest net worth. It's often the person who has the most control over their own life. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. Money isn't valuable because of the number on a screen. It's valuable because of what it quietly gives back to you. Your choices, your peace of mind, and eventually, your time.